Gobyerno. You're good and you are a crusader. Bihira yan sa tao, a crusader. Not for the money, but for the cause that you believe in. It's really your values that I like. Mabuhay ka, Rico.
Rico Bellica. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Hello there, this is RJ. Merry Christmas to all of you. Christmas time is here again. And as usual, we're gonna have our 2-day legendary RJ Guitar Center Christmas sale. December 11 and 12, Saturday and Sunday. All the items in all the stores will be on sale. This is your chance to buy the dream guitar, keyboard, drums, guitar effects, mic stands, guitar strings, guitar straps, drumsticks, guitar parts, guitar cables, the cajon that you're dreaming about, and other musical instruments. So I will see you December 11, December 12, Saturday, Sunday for the legendary 2-day Christmas sale. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. 20% off. 1:01 p.m. to 4 p.m. 30% off. 4:01 p.m. to 8 p.m. 40% off. 8:01 p.m. to mall closing. 50% off. All the items in all 10 stores are on sale. Taylor Guitars, 10% off all day long. The sale extends to online sale through Shopee and Lazada, and the same time frame and discounts apply. Strictly no reservations. Cash, credit cards, PayMaya, Home Credit, and GCash are accepted. So get ready to have a beautiful and happy Christmas. Be there for the 2-day Christmas sale of RJ Guitar Center, December 11 and December 12. If you want to check out the items ahead, go to www.rjguitarcenter.com.
For DTI Fair Trade Permit number FTEB-130818 series of 2021.
You can now listen to RJFM and DZRJ 8:10 a.m. from wherever you are. Just type in RJ 100.3 FM on TuneIn Radio, Streama, Radio Garden, and just type in RJFM for online box radio. For DZRJ 8:10 a.m., just type in DZRJ 8:10 a.m. on TuneIn Radio, Streama, and Radio Garden. Happy listening! You are watching the multi-awarded Radio Bandido TV on Channel 224 Sky Cable and TV Plus boxes. Simulcast on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Informing, advising, and entertaining the Filipinos and OFWs around the world. Streaming live on www.facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. or on YouTube, channel RJAM News. To all Teleradio Bandido viewers and listeners, you can now watch Teleradio Bandido on our new YouTube channel, RJAM News. Hit the subscribe button and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified when a new video gets uploaded. Don't miss out on our dynamite lineup.
Frontliners, damayan, talakayan at aksyon. Tuwing linggo, alas 3 ng hapon hanggang alas 4. Kasama si Jude Ika. Live sa DZRJ 8:10 AM Mega Manila, DZRJ Teleradyo Bandido via Sky Cable Channel 224, TV Plus boxes at Digital Radio Free to Air Channel 29. Sa Facebook, www.facebook.com DZRJ 810 AM. Sa YouTube,
RJAM News.
at Radio Garden app. Frontliners, Damayan, Talakayan at Aksyon!
Filipino heroism, ingenuity, marksmanship, tatak saludo kami. Isang pagkilala sa galing ng mamamayang Pilipino, hatid ay serbisyo saan man sa mundo. Natatanging kwento ng mga overseas Filipino workers, OFW advocates, legal luminaries, educators, scientists, and inventors. Mga piling Pilipinong patuloy na nag-aangat sa pagtingin at pagkilala ng sambayanan. Tatak saludo kami. Pinangungunahan ni Johnny Gomez. Tatak saludo kami. Tuwing araw ng Sabado mula alas 2 hanggang alas 3 ng hapon. Mapapanood at mapapakinggan sa DZRJ 810 AM, sa Radyo Bandido TV, Sky Cable Channel 224, TV Plus boxes at free to air. Simulcast live sa www.facebook.com/DZRJ 810 AM at sa YouTube RJAM News.
Watch and listen. Kontra Birada every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Hosted by Attorney Mike Toledo and Attorney Karen Jimeno. This program will discuss the most important and fresh news and events and feature their guest, Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo. So catch Kontra Birada on Radio Bandido TV, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, GMA Afforda boxes, and all DTT boxes. Facebook/DZRJ 810 AM and YouTube channel RJAM News.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Ito po si Atty. Mike Toledo at kasama ko po si Atty. Karen Jimeno dito po sa ating programa Kontra Birada dito sa Radyo Bandido. Ayun, Atty. Karen, how are you?
Hi.
How are you?
Attorney Mike, good afternoon at good afternoon din sa mga nakikinig sa atin at sa mga viewers.
Before anything else, Atty. Karen, kita-kita mo naman blooming si Atty. Karen, no? Kaya pala siya medyo hindi nakasama sa ating kahapon. It was her birthday.
Yes, I turned 25.
Happy birthday. Oh, kala ko 24 lang.
Oh, well,
25
tumatanda na kasi ako. But
well,
I wish. But thank you.
Happy birthday. More blessings your way. You're already blessed. May you be blessed some more. Naintindihan namin kasi nga nabigla ka at binigyan ka ng surprise party ng staff mo dun sa iyong opisina.
Yeah.
At tuloy hindi mo napansin na tayo. Oh.
Kasi nag-meron kami. So thank you to everyone who's joining us again today. Pero kahapon na-miss ko nga yung 11:30 AM namin ni Attorney Mike dito sa ating program. Kasi yung 11 AM meeting ko na dapat normal meeting lang in the office, pagdating ko sa conference room, my office mate surprised me. So, nagkaroon ng, pagdating ko doon, meron ng handa and meron ng cake and then meron pang happy birthday sa TV. So, wala na akong time to, I got distracted and in that, by 11:30, hindi na ako naka-join sa program. But, it turned out very well, and thank you, Attorney Mike, for holding the fort and always being there for our.
Of course, partner. In fact, si Secretary Panelo was able to join us yesterday, at it was good na yung pinuntahan niyang lugar sa Cagayan de Oro, no, nakasama niya ang iba't ibang mga kandidato rin na tumatakbong senador, gagaya ng kaibigan nating si Robin Padilla, of course, ating ding kilalang radio personality, TV personality si Attorney Ray Langit, kasangga mong Langit, nandun din, no? At iba pa mga kandidato. Kaya we were able to at least discuss a number of matters, a number of issues with Secretary Sal, at nabigyan niya ng konting paliwanag, explanation, yung mga questions na tinanong natin noon na hindi naman natin talaga nakuha ang sagot dahil nga either hindi makapasok si Sal because of the location kung nasan siya bumibiyahe sa kanyang kampanya. So maganda naman ang takbo kahapon. Short but sweet. Pero alam mo, Attorney Karen, madali na naman bumawi. Pag-absent mo kahapon, libre ka lang ng merienda, okay na yun.
Of course. Maasahan mo yan, Attorney Mike. Yes.
Lalo na sa mga kasamahan natin sa, di ba, Kontra Birada.
Yes, we'll have a belated celebration, especially since the numbers are looking good. Even Okta was saying today that it seems in the Philippines or NCR, we've achieved herd immunity. Kaya hindi do so far, hindi tumataas ang cases and hindi pa nila na-detect yung Omicron variant here in the Philippines. So that's really good news for all of us.
Oo nga, maganda ang mga sinasabi ngayon ng Okta, no? And these are really good news. And alam naman natin, ang Okta ay yung credibility nila, reliability nila through the months, no, or maybe 1 or 2 years now, no, since the pandemic started, is beyond question naman. No? Medyo dependable sila, reliable naman sila. Sabi nga nila, yung isa sa mga pronouncement nila, for example, in particular, sa Quezon City, ay Quezon City is the efforts of our good friend, no? Mayor Joel Belmonte, they're actually winning the war, no? in against COVID-19. So, good news. Kasi naman, if for example, Quezon City is doing well and it's the biggest city, if I'm not mistaken, in Metro Manila, Davao City is the biggest in terms of land area. But I think in Metro Manila, Quezon City in terms of land area is the biggest and also quite big in terms of economic output. It's good to know. Kasi ibig sabihin, pag yun ay nakokontrol na, there's a strong possibility na yung adjacent, mga kalapitan, no, na mga areas ay nakokontrol na rin po.
Yeah. And now, Attorney Mike, let's go to our favorite topic, politics. And
yes,
yung inaantay nating guest since last week, si Professor Dindo Manhit, is here to join us today live. So,
that's good to know.
I'm very happy that we have a special guest today. So, Professor Dindo Manhit is not only very well recognized, as you said in our last program, no, last week, na he's very well known and he's always being asked to give his insights when it comes to politics, but he's also the president of StratBase. So very, very smart, highly accomplished. And I think, is he already live with us, Professor Dindo?
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Bye-bye. Magandang hapon.
Hey.
Magandang hapon sa mga tagapakinig niya.
Magandang hapon, Professor Dindo, Professor Manhit, at una-una kami ni Karen ay talaga nagpapasalamat that despite your very busy schedule, kasi alam po namin na talaga ikaw naman ay talagang in demand, na hindi lang sa mga kliyente na tumatakbo, mga kumpanya na hinahawakan mo, ngunit sa mga interviews na kagaya nito, no, ikaw ay suki ng ilang television stations. Kasama na dyan yung ating TV5, of course, no? At Radyo 5. Kaya kami nagpapasalamat na pinagbigyan mo kami dito sa aming programa.
Para sa inyo, Attorney Mike at saka Attorney Karen.
Thank you. Attorney Karen, I'm sure...
okay. I guess we'll ask something that we've always been discussing, and we wanted to get insights from an expert. Yung value ng, political surveys. Perhaps you can, give us insights into when can we expect the next survey to come out? Because yung naging deadline nga for substitution already lapsed, and now at least we have some certainty as to who the candidates are. And when can Filipinos expect the next survey to come out?
Right now, may tumatakbong survey, that means at the field level, but nauna yata ang Pulse Asia. So you can expect in a week or two, it will be out. So I'm happy to share those views with you guys. But before the end of the year, you'll have Social Weather Station, one of our partner survey firm also that we use for our October survey. So both their surveys will be out publicly kasi by that time, klaro na, diba? May fixed number of candidates na and hindi na nanguhula kung sino mga possible na tatakbo. So we'll get better clarity. But the importance of survey, just to remind your listeners, is that I use this word, they are a snapshot at that moment. So the first thing is tanungin kung kailan tinanong yung survey. So in this case, this could be either end of November or December survey. And they try to get a picture of where the public is with regards to the major presidential and major vice presidential candidates or even the senatorial national candidates. Sino ba ang kanilang napupulso? Sino ba napipili nila? Makikita natin yan this month of December.
So,
Professor Dindo,
Professor
yeah, go
Dindo,
ahead.
Okay, thank you, Atty. Karen. So, Professor Dindo, lalabas yun in December. So, itong survey na to, lalabas na wala na dun sa listahan for President si Senator Bongo. Kasi
Maring na andun pa. Kasi officially,
nandun
hindi
pa,
pa
no?
siya nag-withdraw.
Correct. Yun nga, yun ang gusto ko i-clarify. Kasi sa ngayon, although nag-announce na siya publicly in media and several other platforms and venues that he is withdrawing, hanggang ngayon, hinihintay pa rin ng COMELEC ang kanyang pagpunta sa COMELEC at pag-file o mag-hain ng kanyang formal withdrawal, which makes some people think, and you can maybe add to this, no, Professor Dindo, which make some people think, then why not? Is it because there's an ongoing negotiations, discussion? Baka naman na mayroon kang inputs dyan, Professor.
Totoo yan, Atty. Mike, mapapaisip ka na kung talagang pababa, dapat pumunta na sa COMELEC to make it official, no? At alam naman natin kung sino ang posibleng mabawasan ng boto pag tumakbo si Senator Bongo at yan si Marcos Jr. At naman may katotohanan sa balibalita na nagkakaroon ng usap-usapan within the different factions supporting President Duterte na magsama-sama sila. And until we find some clarity there with the actual withdrawal of Senator Bongo, baka makabawa siya ng boto kay Senator Bongbong Marcos.
Mm-hmm. And Professor Dindo, as you said earlier, that yung surveys are a snapshot of the condition or at least the voter sentiment at a given time. For those who are laymen like us, normally pag nakita namin yung rankings, kind of seems like, ito yung leading candidates. But do you have tips on people on how to look at surveys or any insights you may have in terms of yung mga caveats, like ano yung mga things that we don't see, because we only see names and they're ranked and then the percentage. But I've heard that usually it's the way questions are phrased. That's why it matters to check sino ba yung survey firm na naglabas ng specific
right now,
survey.
always, if you will ask me, there are two survey firms that I find credible because of decades of tracking these questions and quarterly. That means hindi lang sila sumusulpot pag election. I'm referring to Social Weather Station and Pulse Asia. That's why I myself work with them. They've been around since 1985 for Social Weather Station, and for Pulse Asia, broke away from Social Weather Station. So they came from Social Weather Station, broke away in the year 2000, if I remember it right. So they've been there for 2 decades already. And they do this quarterly, hindi lang pag-election. So they continue to track policy. So I find them credible. And their question is very basic. They'll put the list and ask, itong kandidato ngayon, that's why the December is very important, dapat official na. Yung nga lang, baka umatras pa si Senator Bongo, official na, sino ba ang pipiliin nyo? O sino ba ang nais nyo at this time? So, but sa mga botante, sa mga tagapakinig nyo, they just have to look at it simply as, these are choices that represent the thinking of the national voter population natin. Surveys are not meant to shape your thinking. It just tells you who is leading at that time. And it helps a lot candidates also because it's the best way to measure the success of their campaign initiatives.
Alam mo,
Kung tama ba ang
Professor Dean,
ginagawa nila? Yes. Yes.
yeah, that's a good point that you raised, Professor Dindo. No? Although being a lawyer, I know what will be the answer of all those that will oppose what I will say. Pero yun lang nga, no? Kagaya na sinabi mo, a survey supposedly should not influence the electorate, the voter, who's supposed to vote not on the basis of popularity, but on the basis of issues, the platform of governance, the conviction, and all the other factors that you consider when you vote kapag may binoto kang kandidato. But the truth is, meron tinatawag na bandwagon effect talaga yan. No? Talagang ganun yan. That's one. Number two, alam naman natin na pag mataas ka sa survey, kaya naglalabanan sila sa pataasan ng survey, mas madali pumunta, dumaloy yung pera at suporta doon sa kampanya mo. Kaya ang tanong ko, Professor Dindo, since a survey should just be a tool for all campaign managers, no? Campaigning for particular candidates, so they can properly analyze, strategize, devise ways and means na makakuha pa ng boto, o saan sila mahina, saan sila malakas, at dapat hindi ma-influence ang voting public. Pwede ba kayang ang papayagan na lang ay yung exit polls? In other words, ang survey na dapat na gagawin ng Pulse Asia, SWS, or any other reliable survey outfit cannot be published. It will only be used by those na gumagamit at di ba, kumukuha sila, nag-ano sila na survey, no? Nag-contact survey, no?
Yes.
Oo.
But I've not seen any.
Hindi na. Oh, paano ba yun?
I've not seen any. I've not seen. For me, it's not possible. I've not seen any democratic society prevent legitimate survey companies to tell us what's happening. You see that in the mature Western democracies like the US, because it's not meant for bandwagon. It's simply meant to really generate interest for supporters, maybe to work harder. No? Kasi at the end of the day, with or without it being made public, gagamitin pa rin naman yung mga surveys yan for fundraising by candidates. And I think there was an attempt also, I think, for a case was filed, diba, to prevent it. But I think the Supreme Court decided differently on that. No? So the bandwagon will always be a possibility. But for me, if you're really loyal to a candidate, we call it a strong support. Surveys will not influence your mind. The bandwagon happens because we have more than 2 candidates. So hindi na-apektuhan niya na number 1 at number 2. Ang na-apektuhan niyan si number 3, number 4, number 5. So magko-consolidate lang ang mga forces.
Okay. But what about in terms of funding? Do you, at least in your experience, because you've been so long, nagiging ano ba siya for funding? Nagiging basis yung mga usually survey results?
Yes, but funders themselves run surveys.
Yeah,
right. So I think it's if it comes out or not, the science of surveys, whatever the funders, the big funders will run, will be the same as those that are made public, because science will tell you they're within the margin of error. Kaya nga sa amin, pag may outlier, alam mong it's a survey being run by a PR firm. Not really trying to get the science behind it. So that's why I always try to look at 3 surveys. There's always a third one that is normally run by funders. So I just check it and I see and I compare. But when I see outliers, a 4th one, a 5th one, alam kong it's being used as a propaganda tool, which is not. It doesn't work at the end of the day, because if it works, then it could have shaped the more legitimate survey. It does not. No? Everybody just likes to attack these legitimate surveys of Pulse Asia and Social Weather Station because they don't get the numbers that they want from them.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
They try to turn it. But I promise you, those who attack them are also campaigns that subscribe to these surveys because they know these are legitimate surveys
Yes.
and it tells you the truth. And I've seen the past siguro 2001 or 98. But because my first experience with this is I was still in graduate school, 1992. I never believed on how accurate surveys are. They saw the possible victory of this of social weather stations, saw the possible victory of Miriam Defense Fund. Nobody believed that. And in my survey in 2000, as early as 2003, the possible loss of Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, Fernando po. So, or the landslide of Era Estrada. I was seeing that in social weather stations at the time, in 98. So you see that you get that snapshot. It just tells you what's happening, and it gives you an opportunity to understand. But kami, we go beyond. I call it the horse race. We even use surveys to ask specific issues. If you'll ask me why Bongbong Marcos is number one in the survey, there's an answer to that. Or why will some people are lagging in the survey, there's an answer to that. Because that's what surveys are. But media reports the horse race, who's leading. But there are other questions within those surveys that we take note of. That people like me, the social scientist in me, tries to understand what those numbers are. And gives you a better understanding of where the electorate is. Because at the end of the day, elections is about the voters. So you have to understand the voters. Tapos na yung panahon that was decades ago whereby you force the voters either to accept your belief or not. Ngayon baliktad. You try to understand the voters and build your campaign around what they want at that moment of their lives. In this case, the 2021 pandemic and going into 2022 post-recovery natin. What do they want for the ordinary Filipinos? Considering we are in a pandemic, it comes out also in our survey that people are more concerned with the economic consequences of this pandemic more than COVID already. But they're also concerned with corruption issues because of what they saw with Farmally and others. So these are things that matters to people. How campaigns build around it will define who wins in 2022.
Professor Dindo, you touched on a very important or at least significant issue there when you said nga that sometimes if there's an outlier, then ito yung mga surveys that can be dubious. Or I've heard some people tell me before, like if I read a new survey and I said, bakit iba yung candidate na leading dito? And then they'll tell me, wala yan, bayad yung survey na yan. So what's the methodology for certain surveys to skew who's the leading candidate? Is it because they ask
No, they don't explain. They don't even explain how they got their data.
Okay, so it's not about even like how they choose the sample or paano nila nagagawa yun? It's just like, of course, a mystery to people na iba yung sinasabi nitong survey na to. So sometimes iba nag-iiba-iba.
Yes. So sa akin, at the end of the day, it is supposed to be run by statisticians, science. There's a science behind it. I myself is not good at it. So I'd like to interpret the data that comes out of it. So imagine when a survey is being pushed by, when you look at the background of the person speaking, this is our survey. The first thing you ask, who is your data scientist? Who is your statistician? Diba? That's why every time you see a Pulse Asia, there's a Professor Holmes, the president, who is a political PhD on political behavior, but he always, ang number 2 niya is a former professor in UP of Statistics. Ganon din ang social weather station when they explain. But the others, you ask yourself, aren't you PR people? Aren't you active in campaigns in the past? Like me, I can run a survey. Because we have a team that does that in some of our advocacy campaign. But I know, if I run that now, people will say, but Dinto, you might be biased over one. That's why I prefer to outsource it to credible ones. No? It's the methodology. That's why the first thing we ask, how did you reach those numbers? Were there respondents? Especially when I keep on hearing, these are sentiments in social media. Yun, ex-kagad sa akin. That's not survey. It's social media sentiment. Noise lang yan. Not how can 10,000 people? Sasabihin, hindi mas magaling yan, sir, kasi kayo, 2,000 lang respondents. Sila 10,000. In 10,000 nila, minsan yun yung kung sino lang yung nag-ingay sa social media. Yung 2000, I always tell people, we all took a subject called statistics. That's why at 2000, at 1,800, 2,400, we can get a plus minus 2% already, or 3%. The higher, more expensive, but good for a campaign. 3,000 respondents, you can get a 1.5% margin of error. And it's accepted worldwide as a science. And that's what we follow. Kami who takes survey seriously. That's why we respect. If you've noticed, I'm not mentioning other groups. The rest, diba? Kasi the others are, maybe there's a third one, which I respect also, Laylo survey, a breakaway from social weather station also. So at least those three, you know their methodology, the three. The rest, I don't really know how they get it.
Yeah. Alam mo, Professor, it's a good point talaga na rinaise mo to, no? Because clearly, there are a lot of Filipinos, for the simple reason, no? Because as you correctly pointed out, kagaya nga na sinabi mo, ito ay based on science, siyensya, empirical data. And I had the opportunity na nakapasa din ako ng some books or articles about surveys. At the end of the day, nakikita natin, historically speaking, even in the Philippines, these surveys actually, the results of the surveys actually reflected the outcome, whether national or local elections, the dependable surveys. Pero ang mga tao, palagi nila sinasabi, paano magiging dependable yan? 1,200 respondents, ilang babutante sa Pilipinas, assuming now, no, we have more than 63 or 62 million voters. Paano naman magiging 1,200 daw ay magiging reflective ng sentimento or ng panahon na yon, snapshot ng panahon na yon for a certain candidate. Tapos, ito pang sinasabi ng mga hindi naniniwala, no? Sinishare ko lang, no, para malaman ng ating nakikinig kung ano yung mga sinasabi nila about surveys, no? And maybe you can, of course, address that again also, Professor Manhit. Sinasabi rin ng iba, pare, ikaw ba ay natawagan ka na ng isang survey company at na-survey ka? And if you are among a group of friends, maski na 10, 20 kayo, chances are, sasabihin nyo sa isa, o nga pare, wala namang tumatawag sa akin na nagsasurvey. Never akong na-survey, and somebody will say the same thing. No, then they falsely conclude, no? Kasi ako nga, naniniwala din ako talaga sa survey, na, since 1,200 lang yan, and there are 64 million voters, at kung tayo dito sa maybe sa lugar na to, sa bahay na to, sa kwarto na to, ay not one of us have ever been asked on a survey question on a candidate, paano magiging Paano magiging legit? Ano bang sagot mo dyan, Professor?
Ang masasagot ko lang dyan, Attorney Mike, is paano ba sinasabi dati ng ABS-CBN, ng GMA7 na silang #1 station? Survey din yan. Ba't sinasabi ng TV5 na pangatlo lang sila? Survey din yun. Ang basihan, pagbili ng commercial, di ba? Survey din yun. So parehong science to. Pag sinabing napaka-#1 yung produkto na yan, survey din yan. The same behavioral scientists ang nagpapatakbo niyan. Ang nagbabago lang katanungan. So there's a science behind that. Doon sa, tinatanong ba kayo? Tandaan nyo, 108 million tayo. Kaya nga siya random sample, di ba? Nira-random tayo kung sinong pipiliin. Una, hindi matatanong ang mga kaibigan mo, Mike, kasi nasa AB crowd kayo. Ilang percent yun, di ba? Attorney Karen, hindi matatanong ang mga kilala nyo dahil nasa gated communities kayo, nasa condominium. Mahirap kayo matanong, hindi kayo mararandom. Di ba? And you're not representative. 75% of our population is social class D. These are people living with minimum wage or a little over minimum wage. Yun. Mga may ingay sa atin, Mike, yung ba nakakausap talaga ng class D? Kahit empleyado nila, hindi na nakakwentuhan niya. So we're not really representative. Our comments at times. Just like ako, I am an expert in politics, but I know my comments is very elitist. That's why I rely on survey to tell me the behavior of the general public. Kaya hindi nagiging intellectual yung point of view ko kasi nga I like to quote, ito ang pananaw ngayon ng botante dati. And that's a bindubanhit. That's the result of survey. Hindi ako nanguhula on that. So so this is as I've said, it's a lesson to me. I said in 1992 election, opened my eyes to that reality, how accurate if done scientifically. And you see that, diba, na how you see it in the elections in the US, kung pinapanood mo Filipino yun. You see that because it's the same game na may popular vote sila. Yun, makikita nyo, doon silang ba sila? Mas malaki ang population nila. The respondents are the same with us.
Mhm.
And they capture it. Nakaka-capture din nila yung moment because there's a way to it. No? Sa akin, kasi simple lang yan. Pag sabi sa akin, kung ayaw nyo maniwala, ang sagot ko sa ganun, you don't need to listen. So, I comment.
Yeah.
I comment on that. But I promise you, all those campaigns are reading surveys. Imagine how can the campaign know what's happening in their campaign if they don't run surveys?
Yeah. And for me, I guess I have a quantitative answer to this because when I was studying at Berkeley, one of the classes I had in terms of empirical quantitative tests to determine statistical significance or correlations has to do with randomized control trials, which is one of the recognized ways to test correlations or even doing household surveys. So one thing at least I can say, and I try to say this from like na maintindihan din from a layman's perspective, would be yung sample group, it's randomized yung pagtanong, which means that if people are saying that, but ako hindi natanong, again, because it is randomized, you have a big sample group, and in our case, the total population is X, meaning we're about 110 million Filipinos, and then ilan lang dun yung voter population, and then the percentage of that belongs to like your group, Attorney Mike, for instance, would be the same percentage of that that corresponds to that big population. So let's say, yung katulad ni sabi ni Professor Dindo, if it's AB class, then if they're only about 5 to 10% of the total population, then the probability that yung representation in that sample would also correlate because it is randomized. And there are several studies on this that randomization and the larger the sample of that randomized selection will really represent the N, meaning the total number of the population. So because it is randomized, not purposely selected, then it will tend to represent what you're trying to find out, whether it's the health of the population, and in this case, the sentiment of the voters of the total population, as long as the randomization is really is well carried out, meaning hindi siya selectively chosen kung ano yung sample ninyo.
Hindi siya tinatamper.
Yes, exactly. And for me, Professor Dindo, so my question is related to this. Considering how difficult it is to randomize and then run like a survey that will provide a credible sample of the total population, which is spread out into the Philippines, it costs a lot of money, you know. So
yeah, that's why surveys are very expensive.
Yeah, so
to run a survey, it's I think the minimum at least 3 to 3.5 million pesos.
So in this case, for the firms like reputable firms like SWS, Pulse Asia, who tends to carry the cost, or sino nag-solicit nung survey?
No, so they run surveys, so you can buy what they call commission, which is one survey that could be 3.5 million to 4 million. Maybe that's a running survey, and same market price as other survey firms for commercial questions. But yung kanilang quarterly, you can be a subscriber. So there's a minimum. So pinapadami nila. But you cannot dictate on their questions. So you just have to be a recipient of the results of their survey. That's my understanding of their model. So at times, depending on what I want to know, I try to subscribe just to understand. But if I want to probe more, I pay for additional questions. Because I just don't like receiving the result of the survey. But if I really want a commissioned survey, that's papasok din. You have to spend a lot of money. In our case, we try to subsidize our survey because it's useful naman for our clients in stat-based. Hindi kami nanguhula lahat. So when we talk about it, our survey results helps the decision making of our clients also. So worth it yung investment that we put in it. That's why we spend for surveys.
Very good points that you raised there, Professor Dindo. And maganda din yung punto na rinaise mo para maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan na sayang lang na ang reporting sa media it's like a horse race, no?
Yes,
Sino nauna. Pero kung sana din they can also put more publicity or exposure on the other questions being asked, which at the end of the day, makikita natin kung ano yung damdamin ng ating mga kababayan with respect to certain issues. Kagaya ng sinabi mo, ang unang-unang nasa isipan nila ngayon at gusto nila na merong lunas or merong programa talaga, ito nga, yung the economy na naapektuhan ng pandemya. So kasama na rin yan ang hanap buhay, konektado na po yan,
Yes.
at health nila. No?
Gutom.
Kaya yun, gutom, pagkain. No? Yun ang mga major issues na dapat din bigyan ng tugon ng mga kandidato. At bigyan din ng, malaman din ng taong bayan na ito pala ang lahat ng mga adhikain ng ating mga kababayan fall into these for example, three very important issues. Kaya magandang punto yun na rinaise mo, Professor Dindo, kasi marami sa atin, mga kababayan, I'm sure, tinitignan lang nila kung sino nangunguna, when at the end of the day, hindi lang naman yan. Ang gusto ko lang itanong, in relation pa rin sa survey, no, Professor Dindo, ngayon, na sinabi mo nga kanina, no, pag nawala pag nandyan si Senator Bongo, ang makukunan ng boto based on your analysis ay si Senator or former Senator Bongbong Marcos of ABM.
We have this question kasi we call it diffusion.
Conversely, ganun din ba?
Oo.
Okay. Sige, please.
Pero kasi minsan may mga second choice ang tao. Paano pag hindi tumakbo? So we do that question, diffusion. But of course, this December, wala na yan. Very clear na. Unless, again, Bongo really pulls his name out. But in our first diffusion analysis, which we did June, September, si Bong Marcos is doing very well dahil pag tinanggal mo ang Duterte name, which is Sara, nawala for a while si Bongo, diba? Nung kaya October survey namin, pumalo si former Senator Bongbong Marcos kasi ina-assume na siya ang kandidato ni President Duterte. So nag-consolidate yung vote na supporters ni President Duterte kay Bongbong Marcos at saka yung supporters din ni Mr. Marcos. So parang that's why malakas ang pangalan niya. Yun ang basihan na nakita namin in the result of the survey of October. Yeah.
So, Professor Dindo, would you know for the surveys that's ongoing now, kung ang isasama pa nila is all the official candidates that...
yes, they have kailangan nila isama.
So, until mag-withdraw si Senator Bongo officially from COMELEC, then kasama pa siya sa survey?
Yes, so kasama siya. Masusukat pa rin ng suporta ni Senator Bongo.
That's very interesting. Kasi I think wala pa tayong nakitang survey so far that shows yung effect of Senator Bongo running because that timeline was too short from the time that he filed and then from the time na nag-announce siya that he would withdraw, but then there's no official withdrawal. So I think for voters out there, it's going to be really informative to see what would be the effect if he were to run and the effect of the president's endorsement.
Yan. Okay. Yun ang makikita natin in this December surveys.
Ano sa tingin mo, Professor Dindo? I'm sure naghanap ngayon ang administrasyon. No? If talagang hindi natatakbo si Senator Bongo, I'm sure naghahanap sila ng dapat maging not titular, but it will be the administration candidate for the presidency. Kasi pangit naman kung wala kang candidate for the presidency, di ba? Or both president, vice presidency. Parang yung senator mo para mga orphans, di ba? So,
ako naman is, I feel baka magkaroon ng coalition, mag-consolidate ang support para kay former Senator Marcos at saka kay Vice Presidential candidate Sara Duterte. And from there, mabubuo yung Duterte coalition.
So
That's the
yun ang
logical
nakikita mo.
conclusion. Yun ang nakikita ko na,
Yun nakikita mo. Kaya nga
na
siguro,
malakas, maganda
Mhm.
magsama-sama, at paninindigan nila at titindig sila under the Duterte legacy campaign.
talagang malakas yun. Offhand.
Yes, kaya nga maganda
Oo.
magsama-sama. Kaya ang feeling ko, kaya may attempt din on the part of Senator Bongo to really think about his running. Siya ay makakabawas ng boto sa malakas na kandidato tulad ni Bongbong na nagsama na with Mayor Sara Duterte.
And you know, another thing I'm going to be curious about is the effect of, at least in this survey, because the ongoing survey will include vice presidential candidates, right?
Yes, oo.
Because before, at least the ones I saw na unang mga survey, Senator Tito was way ahead. I think sometimes 40%. But it's the first time that we're going to see a survey where we know for sure that vice president, we have Mayor Sara Duterte running as well. So we're gonna see the effect whether
Makita natin lakas ng, we call it a political brand, which is a Duterte brand. So maganda makita. I expect that to be a tighter race than what we have been seeing this past few quarters with Senate President Soto leading.
Do you think who do you think will be ahead?
I really wouldn't know, because I always say it could be a tighter race than how we see it. You could expect a strong brand na anak ng Pangulong Duterte. Matibay rin naman ang pangalang Sara Duterte. So, but if you've noticed, I'm limiting it to the two of them. No? I'm not mentioning the other candidates. So, let's see who comes out stronger sa kanilang dalawa.
Professor Lindo, may mga nagsasabi rin na yun nga, tinignan nila yung the past few surveys, no? Since siguro 2 months ago, after filing, after the substitution date, etc., nag-lapse na. At sinasabi nila, at maybe your analysis here, no? If you agree with it, sinasabi nila na makikita mo na talagang si BBM, si former Senator Bongbong Marcos, as far as what you may call the market votes, no? Or the majority or massa votes is concerned, malakas siya. And
yes,
even among the quote-unquote power brokers sector, malakas din daw siya, which normally hindi daw nagja-jive yan. Usually, ang masa, ang power broker iba, pero the power broker will eventually
Sino yung power broker na yun, Mike? Kasi hindi pa klaro ang mga political parties.
When you say power broker, siguro yung mga let's say the both big business and political parties. No? Now,
kasi right now, the big political parties have not endorsed Bongbong Marcos.
So,
the big political parties.
Okay.
So, hindi pa klaro yan. Ang nag-endorse are the small group of even PDP Laban has not endorsed him. So, even NPC and UP, the big parties have not endorsed. Which is expected.
Isn't Lakas already considered also a big party?
It's a small party compared to the three that I mentioned.
To the three that you mentioned. As of the moment, composition in Congress.
In terms of Congress and governor, it's not as strong as it was before, but it could. It could. So it remains to be seen.
How about yung sinasabi nila na si VP Lenny, while starting low, slowly naman umangat. Si Mayor Isko, medyo daw nagpa-plateau, pati si Senator Manny Pacquiao. Ano naman ang...
We saw that in October survey, we saw that. So that's always a possibility. I think with VP Lenny, there is momentum, but is it enough? Kay Mayor Isko naman, I think people got confused. What kind of candidate is he really? Because he is reaching out to the administration also, which I think will be covered by a Marcos-Sara tandem. Yung administration vote. So, nagkakaroon ng ganyang, kaya nagpa-plateau yung kay Mayor Isko. Because he was getting stronger when he was becoming more independent in his statements. When you say independent, you're neither opposition, but you're becoming independent with your views on other issues. So,
sabi nga ng iba, si Mayor Isko is parang one of the columnists said is like the Macron France, no? Wherein parang
The center,
populist
trying to
but
capture the
centrist liberal, no? Something like that,
Yes.
no? Not here, not there. Pero sabi nga now, according to Margaret Thatcher, the difficulty about being in the middle of the road is that you can get hit either left or right.
ang hindi na paliwanag doon kasi, Mike, doon sa survey, so sa column na yan, I know that person who wrote it. France has a different political system than ours. They have a runoff.
Correct. They have a runoff.
Macron won in the runoff.
Correct.
He
Yan ang pinag-usapan namin
captured a
dati.
certain percentage. So we cannot explain those things, or we cannot even quote Thatcher because Thatcher naman is parliamentary.
Correct.
So I get confused with those type of analysis.
Very good. Very good points. Very good points.
Diba? We cannot compare countries. Not all democracies. Democracies run in different rules, and the rules of those that were quoted are totally different from us.
Yeah.
Often winner take all, even with 25%, 30%.
But don't you think, just very quick follow-up question, because pinag-usapan namin to very intently with Atty. Karen nung first few episodes ng programa natin, no? Kontra Birada. Don't you think that eventually this constitution should be amended to allow a runoff election?
I mean, I've always believed on the need for a runoff because the majority needs to be represented. Now we've been electing a minority president. That's a different discussion. We work with the rules of the game today, and our analysis is based on the rules of the game. Okay. So I have to go, Atty. Mike.
Yeah.
Atty. Karen.
Thank you. If you notice, Professor Dean, though, we didn't take any commercial breaks kasi gusto namin sulitin yung time with you.
Yeah.
So, and in this,
Happy to join you guys again.
yeah, I hope
anytime.
so.
Kahit
We'll
dalawa
really
guys,
invite
I
you.
could-
And in
Yes.
this short time that you've been with us, ang dami mo agad na bigay na insight. So we really hope that you can continue to join us, especially as we near elections. And thank you for squeezing us in your busy schedule today.
Salamat din do. Alam mo, just for you to know, marami kami commercial pero talagang tinigilan namin para sa iyo.
Oo.
Salamat naman.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to go also.
Yes, thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ingat.
And on that note, Attorney Mike, let's go to commercial because we were holding it off until nga para masulit si Professor Dindo with us. But now we'll take a commercial break. And for all our listeners and viewers, please stay with us and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Welcome, the newest addition to our lineup of explosive anchors. A veteran broadcaster, a sports news anchor, race car driver, columnist, and reporter. Ira Panginiban and his program, Free Spits. Free Spits, a parody of free speech. A right we always abuse. Free Spits, freewheeling discussions, no holds barred. Free Spits, the real sentiments of the Filipino people. Free Spits and Ira Panginiban, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on Teleradio Bandido TV, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, GMA Afforda box, and all DTT boxes. Also heard on DZRJ 8:10 a.m. Also seen on Facebook/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. and YouTube channel RJAM News. Bangon na! Tanghali na! RJ na! Radio Bandido, recognized and awarded as protector of your democracy in EDSA 1 and EDSA 2. In 2022, our democracy will be put to the test once again. So Radio Bandido will strike again. Our democratic army is in place to give you unbiased, real news and facts so you yourself can decide. Legendary and game-changing commentators. Our lineup, starting with the legendary Ray Langit, joined by the most influential bloggers in the country, Banat Bay and the Pugad bloggers, and other dynamic commentators, Tita Carmen, Jimmy Morato, Barbie Atienza, Bernard Tan, Johnny Gomez, Pete Morato, Sal Panello with Sal's Panel O, and more announcers and reporters fighting for democracy. Teleradio Bandido is heard on DZRJ 8:10 a.m., seen on Sky Cable Channel 224, TV Plus boxes, and streaming live on Facebook/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. and YouTube channel RJAM News.
Watch and listen. Kontra Birada every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Hosted by Attorney Mike Toledo and Attorney Karen Jimeno. This program will discuss the most important and fresh news and events and feature their guest, Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo. So catch Kontra Birada on Radio Bandido TV, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, GMA Afforda boxes, and all DTT boxes. Facebook/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. and YouTube channel RJAM News.
Hi, good afternoon, well, good evening na soon, Attorney Mike, and to all our listeners and viewers.
Nandito ulit tayo sa ating mga tagapakinig at nanonood din sa RJTV. Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat. Sana po ay naabutan nyo yung interview kanina ng ating kaibigan na si Professor Dindo Manhit. At maganda yung diskusyon natin kanina, di ba, Attorney Karen? As you correctly said, no? Kaya nga inibita natin siya para he can also explain to our listeners kung ano ba talaga, what are the reasons behind the survey, why surveys are dependable, what are the uses of a survey, at ang iba't iba pang katanungan, no? At maganda at ang mga pati na rin ang mga resulta na lumabas na sa mga recent survey. Kaya I think we should maybe palapit sa eleksyon, siguro imbitahin natin ulit si Professor Manhit.
Yes, I agree, Attorney Mike. And also, I think very important yung sinabi ni Professor Dindo na we really have to check then. When we see a survey, don't just look at the word survey results.
Correct.
Find out kung sino yung survey firm, because meron ng mga reputable ones that have been around for many years. And yung iba na hindi pa natin kilala, they might be just run by PR firms or people who have an interest in showing a specific result. So I think that's very important.
Kaya nga lahat ng mga lahat talaga part of the strategy na rin yan, no? Part of the strategy of any campaign. And hindi na naman natin sila mabiblame because at the end of the day, if you're a campaign manager or if you're part of the campaign think tank or strategist, talagang ang objective mo, isa lang, manalo. And manalo whatever it takes to win, no? At least legally. Now, I do not know na kung meron ka pang mga gusto pang gawin, but bottom line is, ang strategy mo is to make sure manalo ka. Isa sa mga pamamaraan is definitely to make sure that you get a lot of, at least the perception of support. Kaya nga yun ang tinatawag na bandwagon effect. Actually, konti lang, pero dahil nakikita nila na, parang normal sa human nature talaga. It's really human nature, no? It's really normal. Hindi lang sa mga Pilipino, sa lahat ng mga tao, human nature, that pag ito ang sinusundan ng lahat, or at least akala mo, yan ang sinusundan ng lahat, dito na rin ako.
Yeah, and as Professor Dindo said, for surveys in relation to elections, nagiging source of funding na pagka nakita ng ibang people who want to finance specific candidates, they rely on surveys to see kung kanino ba sila magko-contribute. Yes. So again, you're right. That's another incentive na you want to show that you are a winnable candidate and then you are deserving to get donations or campaign support so that you can get ahead in the elections.
Kaya minsan, Attorney Karen, masaklap, no, na may mentality din ang mga botante, no? Which we cannot blame. Hindi naman natin sila mabiblame kung ganun sila mag-isip, no? Parang gusto ko sana si candidate X. Naniniwala ako sa kanya, magaling siya, matalino, walang bahid ng korupsyon at lahat na yon. Pero sa survey, 3% lang siya eh. Sayang naman yung boto ko. Actually, mali yun. Mali yung isip na yun. Na dahil sayang lang yung boto ko, iboboto ko na lang yung ahead. Mali yun. If you really believe in that candidate, lalong-lalo na kailangan niya yung boto mo. Maski na 2% lang siya, maski na 3% lang siya sa survey, since naniniwala ka, hindi sayang ang boto mo. Pero pansinin mo, maraming sa atin nag-iisip ng ganyan, ay nasa 3% lang, sayang lang boto ko. No, if you 1% man yan, 3%, 4%, 5%, if you really believe that that is the candidate that you feel strongly ay makakatulong sa ating bayan at dapat mag-lead sa atin, ituloy mo yung boto.
Yes, I agree. And like Professor Dindo said before, di ba? We've seen changes in patterns. So, sabi niya nga, you know, in terms of survey, marami na sila nasubaybayan in the past, in the 1990s, na merong isang candidate na muntik ng mukhang mananalo na, and then something changes. But, you know, we're really super far from the elections. It's not even technically, marami na nag-iikot. But if we were to follow the rules, wala pa nga yung campaign period. So, dapat bawal pa mga kampanya. But it's too early to say. Yung mga, and again, di ba, in the past, we've talked about this. Yung, in the past elections, yung mga leading by October, November, December, nagbabago pa when the election approaches. And we saw that in 2016 where very early on, ang leading was Vice President Binay, and then biglang ang naging leading was Senator Grace po. And then suddenly we saw President Duterte rise and then gain momentum and then suddenly win. So maaga pa. That's why Attorney Mike's correct. Like based on your criteria, kung sino yung kandidato ninyo, yun yung panindigan nyo. And then, I think if people start thinking that way, then someone will gain momentum and then win. Or at least that might happen to your candidate. So, I think yun nga, dapat talaga yung basihan natin something more firm because wag ang survey. Yun yung point siguro ng discussion natin today. Hindi basihan dapat ang survey ng desisyon.
Yeah, it's really a snapshot nga na what is the sentiment ng tao at yan ang ginagamit talaga ng ating mga campaign strategies, no? Kung saan sila malakas, saan sila mahina. At kagaya nga na sinabi mo, maraming nag-lead ng survey around this time. Not necessarily it meant na nanalo 5 months from now, no, during election day. Kaya nga, importante doon tinatawag ng mga political analysts at mga campaign strategists yung peaking. No? I think we also touched on it before in the past. Pinag-usapan din natin yun. Yung kung maaga ka masyado mag-peak minsan at hindi mo masustain, then baka in election day, you'll run out of gas, so to speak. No? Kaya importante yun yung sinasabi nila na nag-peak. I think nangyari yan in the last elections na mention mo nga, well, in the case of Senator Binay, then after that in the case of Senator Grace po, and then all of a sudden, from behind, ayun si Mayor Duterte at that time na naging presidente, who, by the way, during around this time, he was only number 4 or 5 in the surveys. No? Kaya,
yes, tama ka, Attorney Mark. I think even behind Mar Rojas, no, at that time.
Yes. Kaya habang subaybayan natin ang surveys, let's be guided by it, siguro at the end of the day talaga, kung ano yung nasa conviction mo na dapat mo iboto, ano man ang posisyon ng kandidato sa survey, yun ang dapat sundan natin. Maganda ang punto rin ang sinabi mo, Atty. Karen, when you mentioned na wala pa ang campaign period. Kaya ngayon, pinagsasamantalahan talaga ng lahat ng mga kandidato since wala pa mga limitations on airtime, wala pang limitations on advertisement, wala pang limitations on number of either items na following the rules of the COMELEC. Ikot na sila ng ikot ngayon. Kagaya ni Senator Tuloy, napaka madilang hangyel ako sana. Ni Secretary Panelo, no? Ikot siya ng ikot. Lahat na ngayon, ikot ng ikot. Pakita mo sa TV ngayon, napansinin mo TV. Ang daming ads. Ang daming ads kasi hindi pa kinikwenta yan. At the end of the day, siguro sabihin natin sa ating mga kababayan, a little COMELEC 101 siguro, alam mo, lahat ng mga kandidato, during the formal campaign period, they have to record everything, lahat ng gastos nila. I think for national office, a certain number of pesos per voter And for local, a certain number of pesos for local. Hindi ka pwedeng lumampas doon, theoretically and legally. No? Kaya nga after the elections, win or lose, I guess especially more if you win, you need to file para a statement, no? Kung ano ang ginastos mo at saan mo ginastos at ano ang total. Minomonitor airtime. Kasama rin yan. Hindi ka pwedeng lumampas a certain airtime. And what is airtime? Dinidefine din yun. Airtime sa TV, airtime sa radyo. I think pati ngayon, pati sa social media, kasama na. Dati siguro, hindi pa nila ma-measure yun. But I know, by this time siguro, they would have the capability to measure that. Lahat yan, meron pong rules, lahat po yan na dapat sundan. Pagkatapos ng eleksyon, at manalo ka at matalo, lalo na pag nanalo ka, pag hindi mo sinadmit yan, alam mo ba, Atty. Karen, pwede ka ma-disqualify.
Yeah, I think
So,
di ba merong candidate na disqualify with this? I'm trying to remember tuloy. Meron for the 2019 elections. Merong candidate na hindi nakaupo because of this issue, na lumampas yung spending niya doon sa cap. And
Yes.
I don't know if you suddenly remember, please just kahit kung at some point pag bigla mo maalala, sabihin mo, but trying to remember kung sino, pero merong candidate, but that's how serious it is. And in fact, in other countries like the US naman, it can be a federal offense if you
Yes.
also exceed yung donations na
Yes.
yung cap, right? And if you don't declare. But I'm really excited with what Professor Dindo said earlier, that in terms of these surveys, malapit nang lumabas in siguro 2 weeks, sometime this December, we're gonna see it because it's ongoing now. So that will really, I guess, be a good, I think, one insight for what's ano yung snapshot nga for dun sa nangyari when Senator Bongo was still in the race, or is still in the race because he hasn't
Yes.
withdrawn. And interesting yan kasi papasok tayo sa January when the elections campaign season is about to start. So it might give other candidates some momentum. But when you mentioned din pala sa CAP, paano naman yung social media? Are they able to monitor that? Kasi ang hirap, I don't know, parang ang hirap i-monitor, di ba? And yung posting, marami ng influencers ngayon pag nag-post sila, yung equivalent na yun ng commercial, but maybe, but there's no brand, like no people, like know exactly kung, is this person really posting based on their own freedom of speech and expression, or are they paid because a candidate is paying them to really also promote them na parang commercial? So, paano yun, Attorney Mike? What do you think?
Yun nga, good point. Kagaya ng release ko kanina, I think meron na silang pamamaraan ngayon on how to somehow monitor that. But to be honest, I do not know the specifics, and you're very good point. Maybe in certain items on social media, it would be clear, this is an ad, and this is equivalent to a certain number of minutes, no? And it will eat up in your, whether it fall under broadcast or whatever it is, or maybe ngayon there's broadcast, there's print, there's social media, no? But what if nga, no? It's an individual expressing his support, pero actually it's like an ad, pero hindi naman. Yun, hindi natin alam kung paano nila i-measure yan, or meron na ba silang way of measuring it. Kung wala man, kung may loophole yan, I'm sure pinag-aaralan na rin ng lahat ng mga campaign strategies, no, political strategies nila on how to maximize and use that. In fact, Attorney Karen, isa sa mga ginagawa, even before, no, and it is done by everyone, especially if you want to conduct a survey. Let's say if you're a government institution or you are a private institution or ikaw ay kandidato, kung meron kang access at alam mo na magkakaroon ng survey sa isang lugar, or ang nangyayari minsan, pinupuntahan mo na yung lugar na yon a few days before the survey. Buhos ka na ng ayuda doon. Buhos ka, nakita ka, bababla, ito na, nagsalita ka, buhos lang. Kaya pagka dating ng araw, ng panahon, ng survey, fresh in the minds of those that were being surveyed, yung pagpunta mo sa lugar na yon at yung pagbigay mo ng ayuda sa kanila. Strategy din yon. Isa sa
But
mga strategy
kung
din yun.
ganyan, Attorney Mike, and I've heard of that as well before. Obviously, I have no first-hand knowledge kung nangyayari yan or ginagawa, but I've heard that it happens now. So, does that mean yung mga ibang candidates, they really spend money and time to get inside info from the survey firms as well? So, di ba, parang meron din siguro insider, no?
To be honest, I do not know, no, kung paano nila, if ever. But I know that it has been done. It could be, it doesn't necessarily mean this particular survey organizations, no? But that is a way of ensuring that, siyempre, by the time that they conduct the survey, presko pa sa mga tao yung tulong or ayuda na ginawa mo. No, I'm not saying that yung mga survey companies they break confidentiality by giving the candidates the places that they were their survey. As to how the campaign machinery would be able to find out, I really also do not know. But I do know na may strategy na ganyan. No?
And it makes sense, no? Kasi katulad nga na sinabi natin kanina, it's randomized and we don't know where it will be. But then it's also by chance na kung kayo'y madatnan na matanong, then you will tend to represent the supposedly sentiment of the Filipino people when in fact it's really kung saan tumapat yung survey. But again, kaya siguro rin okay na maraming lumalabas na surveys, but katulad din sinabi rin ni Professor Dindo kanina, karamihan, especially mga online surveys, it's very unreliable because kung sino lang yung active. But I've seen, yun yung ano nga that's what's really deceiving sometimes because I've seen some online surveys recently and doon talaga pabago-bago yung leading. It's it's really, as you can say, it's as random as yung pagpili siguro ng respondents, no? Because kung sino lang yung active naman sa social media or maingay doon, then sila bigla yung candidate nila yung number one.
Yes. Saka hindi natin alam kung active talaga or ano ba yun, trolls, bots ang nag-ano, no? Online. But of course, kung ikaw naman ay strategist, siyempre, ilalabas mo yun in all platforms na, based on an online survey, 10,000 respondents. Di ba? Ganon talaga, no? Ganon. Tapos nga, di ba merong I'm sure nabasa mo to, Attorney Karen, there was allegedly a survey being conducted by I forgot the name of the survey organization, na very overwhelming daw. Ang nagpa-conduct, not BBM and his group, but I think the opposition, no? But Bongbong is not really naman administration right now, exactly, no? But let's just say the opposition, those opposed to Bongbong personally, gano'n na lang, no? Balita daw, sila nagpa-survey together with some foreign organizations based in the US. At ang lumabas nung, na-leak yung survey, hindi dapat ma-leak daw. Yun ang sinasabi nila. And in that survey, overwhelming yung lead daw ni BBM.
Okay. So, this was commissioned supposedly by anti-BBM
anti-BBM.
people. And yet he came out ahead.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
that's interesting.
And
kasi kung ganyan.
nalik. Hindi dapat malik. But I don't know.
But sa akin, at least reliable yun, di ba? Kung yung hindi kakampi ang nag-commission, and yet lumabas pa rin ahead yung kalaban. So, and I think for me, I'm interested, of course, in seeing lagi. Ako, I don't know if I should call myself a survey junkie, but I find it interesting because again, hindi mo naman nakakausap lahat ng tao but to know that, if there's a method to find out kung at this point ano yung iniisip nila or sino who's ahead, I really like seeing surveys, but it's good to be educated kung ano yung value niya at ano yung limitations, because at least I can keep myself in check. Like I can guard myself against yung effect sa akin ng surveys na one, I know that it's a snapshot of a certain moment, and of course meron yung errors. That's why mentioned nga ni Professor Dindo kanina yung margin of errors. Usually, dapat nakadisclose yan sa
As a minus,
surveys
yeah.
because a professionally done survey would disclose kung ano yung margin of error nila, meaning ito yung probability or yung ito yung sakaling ito yung baka talagang may pagkakataon na mali din yung survey, so they will disclose that then.
Ang survey talaga, Atty. Karen, kagaya na pinag-usapan natin earlier, no? And nasabi na rin ni Professor Dindo, hindi nga lang ginagamit yan sa mga political campaigns, but even when you promote a particular brand, no? May brand ka, produkto na gusto mong i-promote. At siguro, para na rin sa ating mga, sa ating mga kababayan, actually, even when it comes to television programs or shows, mga series, alam mo, yung mga highly successful, long-running television programs, nagkakaroon po yan sila ng survey, focus group discussions, FGD, para tanungin kung sa tingin nyo, kailangan pa ba tuloy-tuloy itong karakter na to or dapat mamatay na. Gusto lang na malaman kung ang acceptability ng mga characters. Kaya minsan, depending on the results of that focus group, gagawa sila ng story, okay, mukhang hindi na yata masyadong effective to isang character na to. Nawawala tayo ng viewership. Yan, alam naman natin how important viewership is because pag mababa viewership, mababa yung pasok ng advertisement, hindi kikita ang studio or ang producer, pati na rin yung of course, yung television station. Or in this case, yung mga the likes of Netflix now. No, the thing is, yun nga, tinitignan nila pati yun. Ano kaya? Baka ibahin na natin yung takbo ng istorya dahil hindi yata popular itong track na story na sinusundan natin. Parang gusto yata nila na magkaroon ng romance si A at saka si B rather than si B saka si C. So iniiba yung kwento, no? Kaya that is how important sa ating mga kababayan yung scientific basis of surveys or even focus group discussions. It actually reflects yung pag-iisip at sentimento ng ating mga kababayan even if ang sinesurvey lang or mga respondents lang ay 1,200 or even at sometimes 1,500 or 3,000. Hindi nangangahulugan that just because ganun lang kadami ang nakuhang respondents at sumagot sa mga tanong na walang basihan po. Marami pong data, empirical evidence and data to show whether it's a political campaign, promoting a brand, promoting a person, or even nga dito sa mga long television programs, kaya sila tumatagal ilang episodes yan. Di ba, like the Game of Thrones at kung ano po yung mga episodes na yan, kaya tumatagal na yan, they know how to adjust and shift to the desires and needs of the times.
Yeah, and on that note, because we talked about kanina commercials na we limited the commercials because of Professor Dinduman hit.
Yes.
We'll have another commercial break before the final part of our show. So thank you to everyone and please stay with us. We'll be back after a few minutes.
Sally Masa with host Sunny Ilustre digs into current events and human interests. All viewers and listeners are invited to take part in the discussion. All opinions are welcome and respected. Sally Masa is open to assist those experiencing injustice. The motto of the show is, if God is with us, who is against us? Seen every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. on Radio Bandido TV, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus Boxes, Digital Free-to-Air Channel 29, Facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. and on RJAM News. Join Arnel Doria as he explores the world of travel, transportation, road safety, and the environment. Tune in to Good Trip every Saturday at 1 to 2 p.m. on Teleradio Bandido, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus Boxes, Digital Free-to-Air Channel 29, Facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. and YouTube channel RJAM News.
Watch and listen. Kontra Birada every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Hosted by Attorney Mike Toledo and Attorney Karen Jimeno. This program will discuss the most important and fresh news and events and feature their guest, Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo. So catch Kontra Birada on Radio Bandido TV, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, GMA Afforda boxes, and all DTT boxes. Facebook/DZRJ 810 AM and YouTube channel RJAM News.
May problema ka ba sa asawa, kaibigan, katrabaho, boss o negosyo? Tanong mo, sagot nila attorney. Mag-PM lang ng inyong problema at sasagutin iyan live ng abogado ng bayan na sina Attorney Nikki De Vega at Attorney Carlo Nicolas. Libreng payo ng abogado mula kina Attorney Nikki at Attorney Carlo. Ang Buhay at Batas ay isang programa na nagsasanib ng samut-saring mukha ng buhay at iba't ibang aspekto ng batas. Sabi nga nila, ang buhay ay parang batas. Paminsan mahirap, pero may abogadong tutulong sa'yo. Watch them every Tuesday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. on Teleradyo Bandido, Channel 224 Sky Cable, Free to Air Channel 29, TV Plus boxes, DZRJ 810 AM, Facebook.com/DZRJ 810 AM, or on YouTube channel RJAM News.
Watch and listen. Kontra Birada every Tuesday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Hosted by Attorney Mike Toledo and Attorney Karen Jimeno. This program will discuss the most important and fresh news and events and feature their guest, Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo. So catch Kontra Birada on Radio Bandido TV, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, GMA Afforda boxes, and all DTT boxes. Facebook/DZRJ 810 AM and YouTube channel RJAM News.
Magandang gabi sa mga nakikinig at nanonood sa atin.
Good evening to everyone sa ating mga tagapakinig at sa mga nanonood. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Attorney Karen, medyo, ewan ko, napapansin mo na siguro no, na ang panahon ay
mas malamig na talaga. I know, Pasko na talaga. And you know, Attorney Mike, I was watching the news today and yung merong mga reporters na nasa Baguio City because the tourists have been flocking to Baguio City and nung nag-interview sila, feel na feel daw nila yung Pasko doon because ang lamig-lamig doon. Ngayon, nasa 13 degrees Celsius and sometimes I think 12 degrees Celsius. So, ang sarap.
Bumaba pa nga ng mga 11 something eh. There was a
wow.
time. Oh,
yeah,
kaya parang nasa ibang bansa in that sense. Diba?
Lalo na ngayon na ang hirap mag-travel by plane. At least when you go to Baguio, parang feeling mo nasa ibang bansa ka na, no? Like you said. So, I wish I can go there, but for anyone who's considering a change of environment na talagang may change of temperature, I think Baguio is a great option.
One of our favorite places no, sa mga kaibigan, sa pamilya, is Baguio dahil nga dun sa weather, saka yung naamoy mo yung pine trees, lalo na pag nandun ka sa Camp John Hay. Siguro, shout out lang doon sa ating mga kaibigan sa Camp John Hay, no? Sa nagpapatakbo ng Camp John Hay, yung Camp John Hay Management Corporation, pati na rin yung Camp John Hay Group na ang chairman, si Chairman Bob Sobrepeña. At yung GM natin doon ngayon, no? Talagang maganda yung the way they have preserved John Hay. Actually, yung sa John Hay, doon mo talaga maamoy pa yung pine trees. Kasi sadly, pag lumabas ka sa ibang areas ng Baguio na medyo siguro urbanized na masyado, hindi mo na siya na masyado naamoy yung pine trees unlike years back. Pero at least sa Johnny, doon sa may Baguio Country Club, no? You can still naamoy mo pa, kaya nakakamiss nga. Matagal na, usually at least once a year. Ngayon pa naman may Tiplex.
I know. I went in July, Attorney Mike. I went with my whole family. Kasama yung mga pamangkin ko that were kids. And we really enjoyed. And the travel time was short because of, yun nga, this new SETEX.
Yung una-una, yung NLEX, North Luzon Expressway. Yes. Then Subic Clark Expressway, SETEX. Yes. Then yung Tiplex, no?
Tiplex, yes.
Tarlac,
that's the one I was about.
Hanggang Rosario na.
So hindi
diretso ka na.
Yeah, I agree. Parang kinaya ata namin in less than 4 hours for sure, mga 3.5 or 3 hours. Like very fast lang. Kaya again, malaki yung na-contribute nung NLEX, SETEX, and then Tiplex. Tuloy-tuloy na yan at maganda yung quality ng road. And for me, I also want to give a shout out to Mayor Magalong of Baguio because he's done a great job in one, beautifying the city. Napaka-organized na ngayon, pati yung, napaka-traffic sa Session Road. But they made changes so that mas dadaloy na maayos yung traffic. And he's done a good job in terms of managing the inflow of tourists to make sure that the cases are low and just really keeping the city well organized and peaceful. He's a former general, so he really knows how to also manage the peace and order situation.
Tama ka niyan, Attorney Karen. Well, the last time I was in Baguio, kakaupo pa lang niya bilang mayor, ay nag-dinner kami sa Camp Janine. Very unassuming, very nice man, considering his history, no? And what kind of a good soldier he is, no? Sa matapang. At tama ka, no? Aside from that, may mga managerial skills. Saka nababalitaan ko nga na talagang no-nonsense siya. No? He does not tolerate any kind of corruption in the city. Kaya that is why siguro maganda ang takbo ng Baguio City. Sana makabisita nga tayo one of these days. No? Hopefully, when everything, sinasabi ng mga kasama ko na nagpunta lately, may checkpoint doon sa may Rosario. No? Pero hindi naman daw grabe. May checkpoint, tinitingnan lang nila for as long as meron kang Vax card. And I think merong app. No? May app ang Baguio app. I don't know what kind of app exactly, but there's an app that you have to download. No?
You have to register ahead and then you'll get a QR code. And then,
kasi 3,000 lang eh. They're only allowed 3,000 tourists at a time. They don't want to go beyond that. They really are trying to control. Kino-control nila yung dami ng tao na pupunta Baguio.
I think now they're at 4,000. They increased the limit. Maybe because nag-improve na yung COVID situation. But Attorney Mike, for all traveling tourists, yun lang yung pala yung tip ko. Make sure to check the requirements very well. My brother went to Boracay recently and he was saying they've had other friends na naunang mag-Boracay sa kanila, but because of this QR code requirement, maraming, I guess, nag-a-adjust pa that time yung LGU or their tourism office, basta hindi dumadating yung QR code at marami daw naiiwanan ng flights nila because hindi dumadating on time. And it's a requirement to board the plane. So, marami siguro tayong listeners na aalis this Christmas yun. Be very conscious about the requirements when you travel and magkakaiba kasi per LGU yan.
Tama, magandang tip yun, Attorney Karen. Very good tip kasi mahirap nga naman ganda-ganda na ng plano mo, ready ka na to enjoy, have fun, biglang nauglot pa o natigil pa dahil nga kulang-kulang.
Yeah.
Napaka-hassle naman yun.
Yeah. And ang bilis ng oras, Attorney Mike, now it's 6:28, so we have our final words, but si Secretary Sal Panelo was supposed to join us today, but he texted that he's in Marawi. So, Secretary Sal, I saw you kanina trying to join the program, pero napuputol ka lagi. So, we're calling out to you and saying that mag-ingat po kayo dyan sa Marawi at sa pagbiyahe ninyo because panay-ikot kayo, and we hope to see you again next week. So, to all our viewers and listeners, thank you for joining us again today, and tomorrow we're 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. But we look forward to having you with us again in the coming days and next week.
Maraming salamat po sa ating mga tagapakinig, sa ating mga nanonood din sa RJTV, no, for joining us. At I hope marami kayong natutunan sa sinabi ni Professor Dindo Manhit. Pag Wednesday, Thursday, Friday po tayo, 11:30 to 12 po ang ating time slot dito sa Radyo Bandido, sa Kontra Birada program natin. So again, Atty. Karen, salamat. Salamat, partner. Walang iwanan tayo. And syempre, mag-libre ka pa. And kay Secretary Salt, good luck there. But hopefully tomorrow you can join us. And again, to Professor Manit, maraming salamat po. So good evening. Have a enjoy the evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.